Hello, humanoids, aliens, fish people. The rat race in a cardboard box. Picture this, a gleaming city skyline in 2025, glass towers stretching into the ozone like middle fingers to the sky. The rats are still running, only now they wear Apple Vision Pro headsets while sprinting on treadmills that generate surplus electricity for hedge funds. Progress, innovation, a nation of rats with Fitbits surgically embedded into their veins, chasing a prize wheel that doesn't even spin anymore. It just hums and flashes, error 404, American dream not found. And then, beneath those towers and the shadows that cast like concrete guillotines, you got the unhoused multitudes, the human spillover from the rat race. They're sleeping in tents made from the shrapnel of trickle-down economics, cooking dinner over the flickering flames of burned stimulus checks, and the government, oh, they're not worried. They've got bigger fish to surveil. They send drones to count the tents like they're rare birds in a habitat survey. Look, a thriving colony of the urban poor, nesting near the freeway interchange. How resilient. It's all part of the design, of course. The deep state, the invisible hands pulling invisible strings while wearing very visible Rolexes. They figured out homelessness isn't a bug in the system, it's the system's last honest advertisement. This could be you, it whispers every time you step over a body on the way to your unpaid internship. Fear is cheaper than healthcare. Anxiety is better than therapy. Why fix the machine when you can sell antidepressants and nicotine vapes to the rats running on it? Meanwhile, the so-called leader of the free world, the one, the hologram in a suit who mumbles on cue cards written by defense contractors. He's got solutions. Not homes, not healthcare, not anything boring like that. No, he's rolling out smart sidewalks, heated pavement with built-in AI sensors to politely nudge the homeless off with electrostatic shocks. Innovative compassion, the press release will call it. It's cheaper than housing, and shareholders clap like trained seals as the stock market inflates another bubble. And the rats, still running towards nothing, away from everything, running so fast they don't notice the floorboards are collapsing. The scaffolding is hollow, and the whole system is held together with duct tape and taxpayer-funded miracles. The punchline, of course, is that the rats who can't run anymore get to join the tent encampments. Welcome to the only form of retirement left. Cardboard condos and fentanyl lullabies under the freeway. And the government, the deep state, the hologram president, they'll look at the rising tide of the unhoused souls and call it urban camping 2.0, freedom lifestyle. You're not poor, you're off the grid. You're not homeless, you're a pioneer of the sidewalk frontier. It's 2025, the rats keep running, the homeless keep multiplying, the powerful keep pointing fingers at imaginary enemies, and the rest of us, we're just trying not to trip over the bodies piling up in the cracks of their shining utopia. This is going to be a trigger warning. I'm going to be talking about suicidal ideation. Suicidal ideation. The mind becomes a radio, broken circuitry, stations bleeding into each other, ads for the military, stock market reports, birdsong, sirens, fragments of childhood, all feeding into this endless static. And somewhere in that static there's a voice, not even yours, whispering you could just stop, pull the plug, unsubscribe, walk off the set mid-scene. Suicidal ideation is not the act, not yet. It's the rehearsal, the sketchbook. It's sitting in a room and the thought creeps in like condensation on a window pane. What if I wasn't here? It doesn't scream, it doesn't rush, it hums, it lingers. It makes itself comfortable like a squatter in your skull. And the thing is, on coke, everything's accelerated, buzzing, the blood's a jet engine, but even then, the ideation slithers in. Paradox, you're running at 200 miles an hour, but still thinking of pressing the eject button. The contradiction makes sense because the system itself is contradictory. You're supposed to live for work, consume to stay alive, medicate to stay productive. A human being reduced to spreadsheets. No wonder the mind whispers, escape. Ideation becomes a loop. Daydreams of falling off bridges, steering into oncoming lights, pills lying like teeth in a jaw, not because you want to die exactly, but because imagining it feels like touching the edge of freedom, like opening the emergency exit on an airplane mid flight and letting the wind take you. It's possibility, not destiny. But the danger is repetition. You think about it once, then again, then again. The groove deepens. The needle of the thought wears a trench into the brain's vinyl. Before long, it plays on repeat. What if, what if, what if? And suddenly the ideation feels like preparation. I don't think people understand suicidal ideation isn't always screaming despair. Sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it feels like a gentle hand on the shoulder. You don't have to keep going if you don't want to. That calmness is the trap, that's the seduction. But here's the counterpulse. Maybe the thought isn't just distraction, but also a reminder. Like your brain saying something's wrong. You're starving somewhere. Spirit, body, society, and the ideation is the warning siren. Maybe instead of following it into the dark, you can read it as a message. Get out of this job, get out of this relationship, get out of this system that's chewing you alive. Because the world would love for you to give up. Corporations don't care if you vanish, governments don't care if you vanish. The machine will keep humming, but if you stay spitefully, stubbornly, brokenly, you deny the system your silence. You keep making noise, you keep glitching their perfect control. Learned helplessness. A short essay, observational essay. Learned helplessness. You put a dog in a box. You shock it over and over. Sometimes it jumps the barrier, sometimes it doesn't. But eventually it stops. It lies down, even when the door is open. Even when freedom's 2 feet away, it stays. That's learned helplessness. The body trained to give up, the mind rewired to surrender. It's not just about dogs, it's about us, human beings. People locked in cycles of abuse, poverty, depression. The shocks keep coming, invisible but real. Bills, rejection letters, empty pills rattling in a plastic bottle. And after a while, the brain, your brain, my brain, every brain stops trying. Neurotransmitters collapse, dopamine shrivels, serotonin flatlines. The world becomes a locked room. The escape hatch is there, but your mind refuses to see it. Stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, flooding until the hippocampus shrinks like a raisin in the sun. Neural pathways carved deep. Don't try, don't fight, don't move. The amygdala screaming, the prefrontal cortex muffled like a hostage. Biology becomes prison bars. You are not imagining it, you are living it. And here's the thing. Learned helplessness is useful, not for you, but for the system. A population trained to lie down, accept, obey, students who stop questioning, workers who stop resisting, patients who stop demanding better treatment. Keep shocking them, and eventually they cage themselves. The door is open, but they won't leave. That's control. That's governance. That's capitalism's hidden laboratory. But the paradox, helplessness is learned, which means maybe it can be unlearned. Neuroplasticity is still there, humming like a backup generator. With enough cracks of light, enough small victories, the pathways can shift. Therapy, community, rebellion, art, breath, the smallest acts of defiance, these are rewiring tools. You teach the brain hope the way it was taught despair. I keep thinking maybe that's why we turn to substances and to music and to rituals to trick the circuitry into remembering there's another way. Learned helplessness isn't destiny, it's conditioning, and conditioning can be undone. The box was never locked, the electricity was never the only truth. The dog can indeed leap again. Let's keep going, shall we? I think I accidentally. There it is. Prison evolution. The prison, the machine, and the human soul. Imagine, if you will and can, a world before walls, before bars, before the cold fluorescent hum of institutional light. Once punishment was spectacle, fire, blood, the crowd's jeering laughter, but the human mind grew restless, always hungry for order, efficiency, control. The first prisons were not prisons, really. They were warehouses of inconvenience, rooms to hold bodies until someone decided their fate. In Mesopotamia, Egypt, even in the so-called civilized cities of the 16th century, confinement was temporary, a pause in the symphony of violence. Then came the Industrial Revolution, a terrible, beautiful engine of progress. Smoke, steel, wheels turning, minds fracturing, and with it the prison evolved. No longer just a holding pattern for bodies, it became a factory for souls. Jeremy Bentham's panopticon, oh god, the circular gaze, the constant invisible eye, wasn't just architecture, it was psychology in steel and brick. Discipline became productive, observation became total. The prisoner was not just locked, he was quantified, categorized, commodified. In America, the system mesticized, fusing with the economy. Chains turned into contracts, labor into currency, convict leasing, chain gangs, prison farms. Suddenly, incarceration became profitable, and the more people inside, the more the wheels of industry spun. War on drugs, mandatory minimums, private prisons. They are not punishment, they are supply chains for despair, a grotesque industrial complex where human lives are cogs and bureaucrats are engineers of suffering. And yet, somewhere in all that caged breathing, there is noise, the clanging of doors, the whispers in corridors, the echoes of dissent, protest, the small sparks of humanity, refusing total consumption by the machine. The prison is a lens, a reflection of society's obsessions with control, fear, and productivity. We are all in some way prisoners of the invisible panopticon. Our screens, our schedules, our compulsions. History did not simply build prisons, it built a mirror, and the reflection is terrifying because it is us. I feel like I might have said that in a previous video, so if I just repeated my prison essay, let me know in the comments if you watch my channel pretty frequently, and we apologize for that if that's the case. I don't know why I said we, I'm talking about me, sorry guys. Burn the Witch. The world pulses with surveillance. Each flicker of a screen, a heartbeat in a collective paranoia. Politeness is a veneer over a fire that smolders beneath every hedge. Behind every smile, the villagers gather in perfect rows, cricket bats in hand, masks of innocence hiding sharpened knives. Every ritual is repeated, older than memory, as the algorithms catalog each breath and each blink. Strings slash like shattered glass across the sky. Their jagged rhythm is a signal. Civility is cracking. The children's voices echo through the streets, bright and brittle, carrying warnings wrapped in nursery rhyme cadence. The innocents are the sharpest weapons. The mirror is reflecting what the mob refuses to see in itself. The shadows lengthen, and those who linger too long in the light risk being consumed by the ritual, whatever shape it may take. The scapegoat is never the problem. The mob demands a body, a mark, a confession. Fingers point and the flames leap higher, but the architects of fear remain hidden, sipping wine behind glass towers, their smiles polite and calculating. History repeats witch trials, McCarthy hearings, digital pylons. The instruments of terror evolve, but the terror itself remains unchanged, woven into every whisper, every feed, every flicker of neon light in the night. Torches are now invisible. They glow in pixels and notifications in the glare of screens. The fire moves faster than the eye can follow, consuming without warning. Shadows crawl across the manicured lawns of the perfect town. The rhythm of the strings mimics the pulse of panic. Each stab of the violin, a heartbeat skipped. Each scrape of the cello, a nerve raw and exposed. Survival requires silence. Shadows are sanctuary. Anonymity, a shield. Every gesture in public is calculated. Every word may be twisted, cataloged, fed into the machinery that thrives on fear. And yet, even in the shadows, the scent of smoke is unmistakable, creeping under doors, through vents, and into dreams. The ritual never ends. The fire never dies. The mob smiles. Algorithms count, and the witches burn. Both the innocent and the guilty, the watched and the watchers. Civilization blinks, frayed and fragile, while the strings wail, children scream, and the invisible torches continue their slow, inexorable sweep across the world. Let's talk about the history of humans using psychedelics. Okay, so picture humans, right? Naked little apes just crawling out of the dirt, terrified of lightning, inventing gods out of shadows, and then one day one of them just eats the wrong mushroom and bam! Civilization begins, like literally. The history of culture is just one long oops moment with some guy chewing on a glowing fungus and suddenly deciding, hey, we should paint bison on cave walls. Mushrooms and the first cosmic joke. Magic mushrooms, psilocybin, were probably humanity's first Wi-Fi signal to the universe. Indigenous groups in Mesoamerica used them in rituals for centuries. They called them Teyo Nana Kata, flesh of the gods, which is way more poetic than the way we say shrooms like we're ordering appetizers. Anyway, Spanish conquistadors show up, ruin everything as usual, and suppress mushroom rituals. But the spores never go away. They just wait. Mushrooms are patient. They got all of eternity. Peyote, cacti, and talking to God through plants. Then you got peyote and mescaline, which indigenous tribes in North America have been using for thousands of years. Imagine chewing on a cactus for hours until your stomach turns inside out, and then you're suddenly talking to the green spirit, or at least negotiating with a very polite hallucinated coyote about the meaning of existence. That is peyote. Used in sacred ceremonies, it wasn't about tripping the way some Silicon Valley bro does in 2025. It was about community, healing, and cosmic alignment. Ayahuasca, the jungle's doctor. Further south in the Amazon, people brewed up ayahuasca like the vine of the soul. Two plants, combined in a way that modern pharmacology still can't fully explain, unlock DMT, the so-called spirit molecule. You drink it, purge your guts into the rainforest, and then immediately launch into a 12-hour TED Talk with the serpent goddess of the cosmos. Ayahuasca ceremonies were medicine, visions, and therapy long before therapy was a billable word. DMT and the Alien Hotline. Speaking of DMT, smoke that, and you basically got a cosmic speed dial to hyperspace. Ancient shamans used plants containing DMT for divination, and modern people, they hit a vape pen and meet machine elves that tell them reality is an elaborate screensaver. Like if regular life is Windows 95, DMT is God, booting up a secret developer menu. LSD, the accidental apocalypse. And then there's LSD, also known as acid, the one that didn't come from a jungle or a cactus, but from a Swiss chemist named Albert Hofmann in 1938 who accidentally dosed himself and had the weirdest bike ride in human history. Flash forward to the 60s, Timothy Leary, Ken Kesey, the Grateful Dead, and LSD becomes the spiritual operating system of an entire generation. Peace, love, war protest, the Beatles writing cider songs about tangerine skies. Then Nixon comes in and says, no more fun, back to bombs and mortgages, and the psychedelic revolution gets shoved underground. The eternal return of the trip. So here we are, thousands of years of humans munching on fungi, brewing vines, licking cacti, snorting powdered toads. Yeah, that's a real thing, look it up. All to escape the crushing boredom of mortality. Every culture, every era has had its portal, and now in the 21st century, psychedelics are making a comeback as if they ever actually left. Now it's called psychedelic assisted therapy because if you put someone in a white lab coat next to a burning sage stick, suddenly it's legal and billable. But the truth is, we've always been doing the same thing, trying to dissolve the prison bars of the self, even for a few hours. Whether you're a Mayan priest with mushrooms, a hippie with blotter paper, or a burned out tech CEO microdosing in his Tesla, you're all chasing the same thing, the possibility that life isn't just cubicles, wars, and credit scores. That's maybe the universe is alive, watching, laughing with us instead of at us. My final thought. And me, I'm sitting here stoned, realizing that every psychedelic is basically humanity, trying to file a complaint with reality's customer service department. And the punchline is the line is always busy. Or maybe we are the complaint. Or maybe we are the hold music. Yeah, that's it. Humans are the hold music of the universe. A nuclear war scenario. Imagine this. Tomorrow, or maybe the day after, some country, let's call it Country X, decides it hates the world, and instead of whining on social media, it pushes the big red button. Not a LOL fireworks kind of boom, an actual civilization ending explosion. Other countries respond in kind because apparently restraint is not a human invention. Suddenly, it's the worst game of risk ever, except nobody wins. Everyone loses, and the board is literally on fire. Treaties and international agreements exist, but they're ignored, mostly because the people in charge are too hungover, paranoid, or incompetent to care. Then comes the fallout. Radiation spreads, cities disappear, people scramble to survive, panicking over basics like food and water while the infrastructure collapses. Hospitals vanish, the power grid fails, and the internet becomes a distant memory. Even climate patterns go haywire, nuclear winter, radioactive snow, and endless chaos dominate the landscape. Civilization turns into a surreal, post-apocalyptic version of reality TV, but without cameras, filters, or anyone left to watch. The revolution will not be televised. The irony, no one remembers why it all started. Some Twitter fight, a misinterpreted trade deal, a sneeze near a border, none of it matters. The moral of the story is clear. Humanity is reckless, nuclear weapons are real, and civilization is as unstable as a cocktail on a shaky table. One wrong move, and everything is destroyed. Now, this one is completely gonna catch my audience off guard. If you guys are still watching this video, let's talk about hemorrhoids. I've struggled with hemorrhoids for a while. If you know what they are, you know what they are. If you don't know, look it up. It's something that all human beings can experience. So here's an essay on hemorrhoids. There's this great cosmic joke. You've got this magnificent machine of flesh, the human body, a cathedral of nerve endings and blood rivers, and then there's hemorrhoids. The universe, God, entropy, whatever, they all had a meeting and said, yes, let's put a fragile balloon of pain right where the sun doesn't shine. Genius. Hemorrhoids are swollen veins like little protesters staging a sit-in at the rectal wall. They bulge and they throb. You sit, you stand, you cough, you exist, and they remind you you are mortal, you are meat, and you are cursed. They are history's most humiliating reminder that blood vessels weren't designed with ergonomic chairs and Taco Bell in mind. Doctors say it's pressure, too much straining, too much gravity, too much sitting on porcelain thrones, scrolling endlessly through doom feeds. Imagine veins like little highways and then a traffic jam forms. But instead of horns honking, it's a fiery itch that makes you squirm at dinner parties. There's this poetry to it, though, like the body externalizing shame. Other animals don't care. A gorilla doesn't whisper, oh dear, my piles are acting up. But humans, we cloak it, medicate it, invent donut-shaped pillows. Civilization collapses into giggles at the mere word hemorrhoid, because it's the intersection of suffering and slapstick. Hemorrhoids are karma. Every sin, every late-night kebab, every strained bowel movement after too much cheese, recorded, logged, and punished. The sphincter is the courtroom, the hemorrhoid is the judge. Yet in the grand scheme, it's intimate suffering. No one sees them, no one talks about them, but half the population gets them eventually. It's democracy in disease form. Shared secret agony, hemorrhoids are like the quiet apocalypse in your own body, one that doesn't kill you but makes you want to crawl out of yourself. And maybe it is beautiful. Pain at the threshold, the reminder that even in our most hidden places, the body blooms in grotesque little flowers of blood. Hemorrhoids are embarrassing, yes, but also proof that the body is alive, pumping, struggling, and decaying. Anyway, humans, don't strain. Eat some fiber. And last but not least, I shall give you guys the history of menstrual cycles, a lecture in blood and time. Trigger warning if you don't want to hear about periods. The menstrual cycle is not an afterthought in human history. It is history. It is time itself. Long before there were clocks or calendars or bell towers, the cycle was the only measure that mattered. The body marking days through rhythm, through blood, through the invisible mathematics of hormones and moonlight. Archaeologists have unearthed bones and antlers marked with notches, scratched tallies. Many scholars now believe these were menstrual calendars, not hunting records. The earliest humans noticed the parallels. The moon waxes and wanes in 28 days, and the body of a woman echoes it in kind. This was the first alignment between earth and flesh, a cosmic duet. In ancient societies, menstruation was often charged with power. In some cultures, blood was sacred, proof of life, death, and renewal. In others, it was feared and hidden away. Ancient Egyptians used softened papyrus as tampons. The Greeks used lint or wool. Indigenous cultures across the world held menstrual rituals, often secluding women not out of shame, but because their bleeding was thought to open a portal between worlds. Then came the long centuries of distortion. Patriarchal systems found the cycle threatening. Religion declared it unclean. Law made it taboo. Science misnamed it hysteria. Women were exiled to huts, to red tents, their blood written into scripture as impurity. The truth was inverted. The very rhythm that made human life possible was made into a curse. Still, the body kept going month after month, follicular luteal, ovulation, menstruation, a cycle of chemical choreography, estrogen rising, progesterone balancing, the endometrium building and collapsing. This was biology as symphony, hormones like instruments, organs as sections, the pituitary conducting in silence. Modern medicine eventually caught up. By the 19th and 20th centuries, scientists began charting the endocrine system, mapping the hormones, naming the phases. Technology followed: pads, tampons, contraceptives, tools that changed not just biology, but culture. With them came debates about liberation, about control, about capitalism's hand in commodifying what had always been sacred. Today, menstrual cycles are tracked by apps stored in clouds, turned into data points, a private rhythm translated into a corporate algorithm. The blood that once marked seasons is now charted on a smartphone, measured not by the moon, but by code. And still the stigma lingers. Society still struggles to speak the word menstruation aloud without flinching. But if you strip away the shame, the marketing, the silence, what remains is the same ancient truth. The menstrual cycle is not an inconvenience, not an impurity, not a footnote. It is the root rhythm of humanity, the first calendar, the first clock, the first reminder that time does not march forward, but it turns in circles. History begins in blood, and it always has. Thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you in the very next one.